Welcome back to the Taylor Seminars. I'm here. Oh my gosh, I'm here. I'm Hannah, and I'm here with Exquisite, my co-host. And
Hi,
here we
Anna.
and here we go again.
Oh, brother, here we go again.
The voices from of well, the voice of Taylor Swift in our head. Um, but before we get started
Title of
with
the episode.
yes, a hell of an episode. Before we get started with track 3 of TTPD, we want to give a little shout out to our friend Aleph, who has
Yes.
made this beautiful new image for our podcast. Is it a logo? Is it a whatever it's called? I'm sure when you clicked on the link to this episode, you were like, what is that? It is beautiful art.
It's just beautiful art.
Yeah.
Beautiful artwork.
If you don't already, please follow Aleph. He's at Aleph, Alef Vernon, Vernon on Twitter. I think he's also on TikTok, but we
Yeah.
follow him and support him on Patreon. So if
And
you
you
can
should
do
as
that.
well.
You should as well.
Beautiful art.
Beautiful art. You get high quality downloads. You get
Yeah.
you get it
Prince.
like a couple minutes before the rest of the world does. His
Hmm.
emails, I'm always like, "Eek." So uh please check it out. Also, a quick reminder, we have been loving all of your comments about our podcast. We literally do it for you guys and for us, but
Yeah.
also a lot for you
It's
guys. So please tag us at Taylor Seminars or use the hashtag TTPD Seminar so we can interact with you, hear your thoughts. It makes us happy.
I know, it makes us feel all warm and fuzzy.
Literally, me and Exquisite just send each other like the ones we find, and and yeah, it's a joy. It's literally a joy just to hear your thoughts and to know that our thoughts can help make your thoughts make sense. So, with that
Yeah,
said,
maybe even make you like a song that you don't
yeah,
like, maybe.
yeah, and even if you don't like it, or you can appreciate it, and that's what we
Yes.
want. We are on track 3 of the Tortured Poets Department.
Yeah.
My boy only breaks his favorite toys. Fun fact, this is a solo written song by Taylor Swift.
Yeah. How
So
exciting is that?
so
I
exciting.
love her. I love when she is like, actually, let me remind everybody who I am
Yes,
and write this song entirely by myself.
correct.
Um, which actually I'm about to like pull up the full credits.
Yeah, so it is
So
a Jack produced song.
yes, and he's performing in it, but Taylor also produced it. But when we say solo written, I mean like y'all, she came up with the composition as well. Jack wasn't back there like pushing buttons type thing. She came up with the button she wanted him to push. She's
Exactly.
like, do
She
this.
was
I need the
she
drums to sound like this.
Yeah, and she also plays the piano apparently. I see that at the bottom of my credits, lead vocals and piano by Taylor Swift, our little
Yep.
piano player.
She was doing a lot in this. She was like, she had something to say and she needed to say it by herself. Um, and she had a very particular extended metaphor she wanted to use.
Yes. And before we get too much into the lyrics, I have to admit when I first heard the song, I thought it was an Aaron Dessner song because of the
Really?
drums. It just reminded me
Ooh.
a lot of I don't know, I just felt like it, I don't know, I just assumed it was. And so I was very pleasantly surprised to see that it was a pop song perfectly crafted by Jack Antonoff
By Taylor
and
and
Taylor.
Jack.
Excuse me, and Taylor.
I don't know. I claimed this was one of the songs I claimed before we knew what they sounded like. And I'm very proud of myself for claiming this because I knew what I was getting into. I saw that title and I was like, yep, my boy only breaks his favorite toys. Yep,
Yeah.
this is gonna be fun. And actually it's kind of heartbreaking.
Well, yeah. I mean, so overall we have this
But
metaphor
yeah,
of Taylor feeling like she is a doll that has been played with and with by somebody, and all that happens is
yeah.
that she gets broken.
She sets up this image, and this is where we can like kind of play with the difference between a simile and a metaphor. So she's not saying she's like a doll. She sets up this image of like she's actually a doll. Um, and I think it's very interesting, and we'll get to this, but she's a particular kind of doll. She's not a Barbie doll here. She's an army doll, which is like the type of typically you'd be like army action figure, but she's like, I'm an army doll. And one is probably because it sounds better in the song. Action figure, hello. But I just think it's interesting because army dolls are typically like boy dolls.
Yeah, played
Um,
with by boys.
hmm hmm.
So here we go, I guess.
Yeah. Here we go
let,
again.
let me read the first stanza.
Okay.
Um, oh, here we go again. The voices in his excuse me, the voices in his head called the rain to end our days of wild. The sickest army doll purchased at the mall. Rivulets descend my plastic smile. But you should have seen him when he
Oh,
first got me.
I love this opening because first of all, love the way she sings it. I love the way she goes, "Oh, here we go again," because it's literally an, "Oh, brother, this has
Hmm.
happened before." Like
Yeah,
she's like, "We're doing this all over again."
it's a cycle. It's a
She's like,
vicious
"Oh,"
cycle. So,
and it's
yeah,
exhausting.
yeah, and this. So this is we'll assume the muse, a male muse, right? Because we have the him later. So he's not having a good time. He has voices in his head.
Hmm
This, and and because of this or through this,
hmm
in he called in bad weather, inclement weather, to end their days of wild. This journey or the this period of time where this boy and this doll were together. It
I,
reminds me of
yeah,
Peace. I sent this to Exquisite and she was so mad at me.
I was gonna say that. I was gonna say the peace connection.
Oh, okay, okay. Perfect. So it was basically in Peace, Taylor Swift sings about, the rain is gonna come. Oh, there's robbers to the east, clowns to the west, give you my sunshine, give you my best. But the rain is gonna come
Hmm
when you're standing with me. And instead of the rain just happening to come upon you, like, storms come and
Yeah,
go, he's calling it, like he's like
he's
invoking the
calling it in,
gods to make it rain.
and he's calling it in because the voices are like, "No more days of wild," which is also that peace connection because she's like, "Give you my wild." Hello. Um,
I'm so sad.
and he called in that rain to stop it. And then there's also the next three lines. The sickest army doll invokes that imagery of the Reputation era, which if you guys were here, then Taylor used to wear a lot of like she was in fatigue chic. Um, and then also sickest is working this like double meaning of like sick as in cool, but sick as in sick,
As an
like
ill.
not doing well. Um, yeah. Purchase at the mall. So um he chose her. It's important to know that when you bought like he bought her. Like he swooped in and he was like, "That's the doll I want. It's the coolest doll here. Maybe it's not doing well, but this is the doll I want." Um and he picked this doll for his days of wild, and now he's ending it. And I love rivulets descend my plastic smile. So it's like this image of a smiling plastic doll, yet there's water just pouring down her face as she's crying.
Yeah, so a rivulet,
Ugh.
if you don't know, is a very small stream. So basically, she has
Mhm.
this smile, and yet she has these tears streaming down her face. Um,
Yeah.
and I just love Taylor's rhyme scheme here. Just to nerd out a little bit, we have um, AAAB, CCCB. So we have again head end, then wild, and then
I
doll
know.
mall, and then doll mall smile. Oh, sorry, I guess smile goes with the wild. Um, but the way she kind of ties them together, I think I always love her rhyme schemes and her perfect slash imperfect rhymes.
She also she makes it a forced rhyme with again in head. Again in head shouldn't rhyme,
Yeah,
but she makes it work.
yeah. Again,
Um
voices in his head.
she makes it work. It shouldn't work, but she does. She makes it work. But I love but you should have seen him when he first saw me or got me. I love
Mhm.
that line because she doesn't explain entirely what he looked like when he first got her, but she's just like, we had a history where it was like magical. Like we were, and she goes on, she explains this later in the song a little bit. But she's like, when he first saw me, it must have been good enough for her to want to be played with.
Yeah. And to
You
go
should have
back
seen it.
you should have. And to go back a little bit, why do you, when you say rivulets did send my plastic smile, do you think
Yeah.
she's referring to she was crying because the rep era, or was it because of something else? Like, why
I
was
think
she
it's because
crying at
of
the mall?
the rains, the rains to end. So
Oh,
I don't think she's crying at the mall. I think I think it's literally saying I was the I she's like describing herself. She goes, "Here he goes again. He's calling the rains to end our days wild." And then she describes what kind of doll she is. So she's like, "I was a sick army doll he got at the mall," so past tense. And now it switches to current tense. So like rivulets descend is present. Purchase is in the past. Um
I love that. I love that.
so currently, like I'm getting this visual of like an army doll that's just standing there, and the doll is carved to smile, so it still has to smile, but it's crying. So it's a broken doll because the doll shouldn't be crying,
Yeah, and
but
the
it's
fact that
smiling
the
and crying at the same time.
and the fact that it's crying and has this and with the rain imagery makes me think like this doll is like what they were, this boy was playing with the doll outside. Later we're gonna see like sandcastles
Yeah.
and stuff. And the doll's left outside, right? Like we have
Yeah, and it could be like the doll itself isn't physically crying because it's plastic, but the rain pouring down it is making it look like it's crying.
oh my gosh, this is so oh my gosh. Okay, that totally clicked for me. Yeah, because like that, yeah, it's left
It
outside. It's left outside because it's
was left.
broken.
It's
Oh,
broke. Oh my God. Anyway, next verse.
you the chorus, yeah,
My
you
boy,
read that.
yeah, the chorus. My boy only breaks his favorite toys. I'm queen of sandcastles he destroys because it fit too right. Puzzle pieces in the dead of night. I should have known it was a matter of time. My boy only breaks his favorite toys. And there is something about that, it's almost like a reassurance in there because okay, I'm like connecting it to the army doll imagery. I'm also connecting to You're Losing Me, the fighting and only your army. But it feels connected to like the only reason I'm broken is because he loved me so much and I was his favorite. You don't see the other toys he didn't like that much getting broken. And that's really sad.
It's definitely rationalizing, right? Like trying to be like trying to figure out this has to make sense. Like I know he loves me and he broke me, therefore like what are the logical leaps that I need to make so
Yeah.
that I can have both these things be true. I'm hurt, but he loves me.
Which is not a healthy mindset to have.
Nope.
I feel like this whole time we're going to be like giving warnings while we're talking podcast. No, people who love you don't do that.
Yeah, they don't.
You cannot say he only hurt me because he loved me so much. That's such a bad mindset to have.
Yeah. And even that next line,
No, no, no.
I'm queen of sandcastles he destroys. Like I'm queen,
Yeah.
right? Like I am on top, but of
Yeah,
what?
I'm the queen
But of and I think this imagery is
of
crazy because it's not just castles that are destroyed, but they're sand castles. Even sand castles aren't permanent, right? They are literally
exactly
the most fragile architecture on anywhere.
most fragile thing ever.
Yeah,
So
and
not
also
only was it a fragile like relationship or whatever, it was already fragile to begin with, and she's the queen of it. So obviously the queen is meant to be like protecting the castle. So she's
yeah,
keeping her castle safe, and the person who's supposed to be in the castle with her is the one that's like the little boy on the beach kicking it down.
which is crazy. And she looks around at these mounds.
Ah!
Yeah, she's looking around these mounds of sand and she's like, I guess I'm still like right like I'm again trying to rationalize and figure out like why. And that goes
Yeah.
into the next line. Oh, go ahead.
And then she explains why
Yeah, go ahead.
that line. Well, she explains why we get the because. So because it fit too right. So she's like, because we were too good together. We were like a puzzle that you put together in the night, in the dead of night. So super darkness, we fit well at night, which is also could be like a sexual thing if you want to think about it as well.
Yeah.
Um,
But no, it's
but
crazy because in puzzles, you're supposed to fit right. Like the whole point of a puzzle is for it
I know
to match. And so again, the rationalizing goes, I think, too far, right? Like what you said, this isn't
exactly.
love. Like, how can fitting too right, fitting perfectly be bad? Right. But she said, oh no, it was actually a bad thing that And the puzzle pieces also reminds me, random, of the Spotify library because there were jars of puzzle
Hmm.
pieces like in that
Yeah.
display. And I connected that
And
to
the puzzle was like one of those hard puzzles,
yeah,
right?
it was like with like crazy lines, so it's like it wasn't like an
That's like
actual
so
image.
difficult to put together.
Yeah, and that also reminds me of Renegade. If I had ever known how many pieces you had crumbled into, I might have let them lay. It ended up being like actual
Oh.
puzzle pieces, but it just reminds me of like, oh, like it was just also broken.
And I just like the fit too right. Like she was like, we were too good together. And because we were too good together, I should have known it was a matter of time before he broke me too, because he breaks everything. Everything he loves, he breaks.
And that is just so sad.
It's so sad. We just start screaming. Here's the problem. I start thinking too hard about some of these songs and I just start screaming.
Yeah,
I can't
if
think
you hear a long pause from Exquisite, it means you went on a walk.
yeah. You need to go on a walk. Um, yeah. Yeah. Let me get the second verse.
All right. There was a litany of reasons why we could have played for keeps this time. I know I'm just repeating myself. Put me back on my shelf. But first, pull the string and I'll tell you that he runs because he loves me.
I'm gonna
'Cause
start
you,
screaming
I
again.
know, she literally just put her head in her hands. 'Cause you should have seen him when he first saw me. Oh my gosh, Exquisite, don't
Like
ever
I
break
think I'm
down
gonna
now.
start crying. That it just stresses me out because she doesn't even go into the reasons. She just says, you know what, I'm repeating myself because obviously the boy has heard this and they've obviously talked about it, but she's like, you know what, just put me back up there. Put me back. Because obviously I'm just repeating myself. Litany, for those who don't know, it just means like a lot. And I love the way she says it because the way she sings it, she's kind of fed up.
Yeah,
Just
she's
like how she
angry.
is when she starts the song. She's like, oh brother, we're doing it again. He's all in his head again. And then this one's just like there. She says it so quickly too. Like she just it's almost like she rushes it out because she's like, I know I'm repeating myself to you.
And we have again, third song in a row, some kind of marriage reference. We could have
Yeah.
played for keeps this time,
Yeah.
to, make this a permanent thing, to exchange
Mhm.
vows. And right here, second verse.
I know. And then it's just the act of I know I'm just repeating myself is so interesting because one, it comes off of the chorus where she like repeats my boy only breaks his favorite toys. Um, so she's literally repeated herself, but also to me, it's a callback to like all those songs, especially when you think about like the bargaining playlist she made and all the songs where she's bargaining. She's like, she doesn't need to repeat herself again for the litany of like all the reasons they should have stayed together because she's already sung them. Like she already has peace. She already has lover. She has all these songs where she's like written out why they should be together on the stars. She has snow on the beach. She's like, I don't need to say that in this song, but I will let you can pull the string, which means like she's a programmed as a toy. She's been programmed. So if you
Hmm.
pull her string, she'll say something that's been repeated to her. And what's been repeated is, I'll tell you that he runs because he loves me. And then she repeats, he loves me. So like you've pulled the string and she says, he loves me. So if you pull the string of this broken doll, she's just gonna say he loves me.
Yeah,
I'm
I mean,
upset.
so it also reminds me of even like in the song "You're Losing Me," where she repeats "You're losing me," and even going
Yeah,
back to Renegade, she has been also talking about the reasons why I'm trying to make this work, right? It's not just I love you;
exactly.
it's let's make this work, let's figure this out.
Like you're not
But
the first renegade to need somebody. Do we
exactly,
have to talk
exactly.
about timing in times like these? Like I don't
Hmm.
need it's like she really does not have to repeat everything because you could just go play those old songs. Like she doesn't need to say it in this. She's like,
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, he loves me, and that's why I'm broken, and that's why we're broken.
And again, we have
Because
this rationalization, right? I'll tell you that he runs because he loves me. And I'm like, runs where? And if he's running away from you, is that really love?
and it also is giving that imagery of do you remember and I remember being told this when I was growing up, and this is something you shouldn't have told little girls. It's like he's mean to you, he avoids you because he likes you.
Yeah.
No, it's because he's a bad little boy.
Yeah,
But
who maybe even a bully, Like
yeah,
some of these
he's
boys
not
are just
pulling your
bullies.
he's not pulling your pigtails and kicking you because he likes you. He's doing it because he's mean. and he has no home training.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay,
and
what
you
do you
need to
th
tell the teacher,
you
Russ,
tell the teacher? Okay,
you need to get an adult.
what do you think put me back on my shelf means? Do you think it means so okay, I'm just, we're always talking through these things. Is it like I'm repeating myself, so I'm gonna shut up and go back on the shelf? Do you think that's what it is?
I think it's that, but I'm also thinking maybe she's means the shelf at the mall. She's like, you can bring me back to the store as well. So I feel like it's working double. But I also think maybe she just like put me back on the shelf where he keeps all his other toys that he's broken, maybe. So it could
Yeah.
be both.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of leaning towards like put me you know, like I'm off the shelf and I'm like blabbing to you, but you know what? Put me back and I'll be okay back on my shelf and just ignoring the problems and just going with it.
I do think it's interesting that this section, the whole song, she's not addressing him. She doesn't like this whole thing.
Yeah.
She's talking to, maybe she's talking to the repair people, maybe because she's like, I like this. Hold on, Epiphany, wait, what if she's like speaking to the toy fixer people, like the people who fix up toys, um or because hold on, because I'm like looking at who she's addressing, and like who the you is, and the you is the reader or the listener.
Yeah, it's definitely
Um,
yeah, not to him because
because
of
we
the
know the he is her boy.
yeah.
So I'm wondering if she's like, so I'm like, I wonder if she's talking to the repair people, and that changes how I'm reading the put me back on my shelf,
Yeah.
because the put me is addressing the person she's talking to.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, I could
well,
also
oh, I was just gonna say, like, if she's talking to whoever has to fix her now, then she's like, have you ever seen somebody go on like a rant of like how their relationship fell apart, and they're just telling you, she's like, well, we could have been this, like she's like, me and my boy, we could have played for keeps, but she's like, and I've told you this over and over again. So now it's almost like I'm just repeating myself. So it's like, is she someone who has been broken multiple times by the same boy, and so she has to keep going to this repair person.
mm,
And it could be multiple times, because it literally opens up with, here we go again. It's happening again.
yeah.
Come on, it's happening
Oh my gosh,
again.
yeah. Come on for sure. Yeah,
I
for
know.
me, I think it's a little more, I mean, there is a you. I still see it a little more as like a soliloquy, like her talking to
That could
just
also
the
be it.
audience in
Ooh, because
general.
if you're imagining this on stage, I'm imagining now like the Nutcracker,
Yeah.
um, ballet, and he instead we get like, Taylor, give me a music video for this one, actually. Anyway, but I'm imagining like this toy that's come to life and turned toward the audience and is like,
Yeah.
all right, so let me tell you what happened.
Yeah,
Here it
yeah.
goes. And and so I still do think like putting me back on my shelf is his shelf, but
Right.
I just think now it's interesting. And she's like telling the other audience, like, pull my string so I can tell
Mhm.
you this story. I'll tell you he's only doing this because he loves me, which is bad. Again.
Yeah, make it
um
clear.
yeah. And then we get into the my boy, we get the chorus again, but it's slightly changed. It's changed from, because it fit too right, it changed to, because I knew too much. There was danger in the heat of my touch. He saw forever, so he smashed it up. So we get this like allusion towards marriage that we got for we could have played for keeps this time in
Mhm.
there. Um, but now it's like, she's like, I knew him the most. I saw him the most. So whenever we touched each other or whenever he played with me, it got too hot. It's too hot. And
Yeah.
he was scared.
And
And so because,
we've talked about, violence, in all these songs, like this undercurrent of
yeah,
violence. And
ah,
this song, I mean, we didn't talk about it in the first
and
verse,
this is our friends here.
but sorry, in the first chorus, but clearly like here in the both choruses, we have destroyed sandcastles, like smashing up things, right? These are not
Yeah,
um
it's
passive,
not a
like, oh, it's not
vehicle
like, and it's not just
dismantling.
like erosion, right? This is like
No,
active destruction where he's calling
active
rain and
destroyed her. basically.
Yeah.
He called the violent storms, he called the rains to end their playtime, and he saw there forever and smashed it. The same way he destroyed the castle. Like, it's very intentional to me that, and we know because Taylor's the only writing credit that like she didn't have like help changing word choices. She did this. It was very intentional for her to be like, he smashed it up. Like, if you've ever seen a little child smash things, it's not pretty. Okay, you want to take the little 2 sentence
Oh,
refrain because I think it's interesting that it's repeated.
once I fix me, he's gonna miss me. Once I fix me, he's gonna miss me.
So interesting to
Yeah,
me. It's so sad. I'm getting upset.
I mean, this I think also refers kind of back to what we talked about in the TTPD episode, where, right, it's very much there's no self-care, there's no care from the other person, right? Like he
Mhm.
destroyed me and he's gonna fix me is not what she's talking about. She's like, I have to
No.
fix me after being devastated. And
Yeah.
once I do, once I'm back to being this plastic smile doll, he's gonna be
Once
like,
I'm
oh, I want to
bejeweling
play with you
again,
again. Yeah,
he's gonna want to play with her again. And that is upsetting
yeah.
because the way it's and the repetition of it gives a resigned, because it's like, here we go again. So it implies that she's had to fix herself so he'd want to play with her again. And it's happened.
Yeah.
We get that this is a cycle. This is cyclical.
Hmm.
Especially because even with the like, I'm queen of sandcastles he destroys, all of that is present. So it's like, I'm not queen of sandcastles he destroyed. It's he does this constantly. I build sandcastles with him and then he destroys them
Hmm.
because he saw forever. So he just knew he had to smash it up. Um yeah, that repetition is just so, I love when Taylor uses repetition. This is like, it's that resignation that is really
And it
yeah,
goes
I'm
back
gonna start
to,
screaming
the
again.
here
But
we
yeah.
go again, right? Like it's crazy because she in this kind of bridge, I guess, right? No, it's not the well, whatever, this little repetition part, right? She's like, oh my gosh, almost like knowing and wanting this to happen, that he's gonna miss her. But in the beginning of the song, we
Mhm.
know that when it does happen again, she hates it.
She's like, she's pissed,
Exactly. So I think it's
but she's resigned. She's like, this is how this relationship works because I am his favorite.
yeah,
We have that chorus of, I should have known it was a matter of time. So she's like, I should have known because it always, when we get too close, when we're fitting too right, when he starts to see forever, that's when he's gonna break everything apart. I should have known. It's that thing. I hate the, it's the would have, could have, should have of it all. And in would have, could have, should have, she never says I should have done anything for that one, which is interesting because in Dear John she does say I should have known better, um, which I think is just interesting. And then the other should have here, she's like, you whoever listener is, she's like, you should have seen it when he first saw me. And it's interesting because in, like, if we go back to Reputation, when she was the sickest army doll, we did see him when he first saw her, and we
yeah,
saw her when she first saw him.
yeah.
First song, he was a killer. Oh, hello, knew he was a killer first time that he saw me. And what is he doing?
He kind of murders
She
the
should have
doll.
known it was a matter of time. He smashed it up. Okay. Anyway,
Anyway,
so then we get this last part, which just devastates me, and this is how she just ends the song. This super devastating part of, um, just say when I'd play again. He was my best friend down at the sandlot. I felt more when we played pretend than with all the kins, because he took me out of my box, stole my tortured heart, left all these broken parts, told me I'm better off, but I'm not, I'm not, I'm not. And I'm about to start screaming. uh, just because I'm, every time I listen to this, I like think about the way she performs it. And there's so much like pleading in just say when I'd play again, even though he breaks me. And this is where we get the, but you should have seen when he first saw me. And this is where we get the explanation of why she goes back and why she has to say here we go again. And this is also like one of the litany of reasons that she held back from us. She's like, he was my best friend. I'm
Mm-hmm.
start crying. He was her best friend.
Yeah. Yeah. And then yeah, we have like
Down the
we have a more
sandlot
yeah, that
in
that
the
more
box.
romanticized view, right? Versus like the sandcastle's broken. Now it's just hey,
Yeah.
at the Sandlot, right? Like it's this
Like
and the
where they
Sandlot
built the
is
cat.
yeah, the Sandlot is such like a romantic Americana image, right?
Yeah.
Where there's actually a movie called The Sandlot that I watched as a kid. But also like this is the Sandlot also has this connotation of like picturesque ideal like childhood, like play area where
Exactly.
you could
Just
make
beautiful.
believe and pretend.
Just the act of because just the literally the line, he was my best friend. So they're no longer
Yeah.
best friend. It's like not only did she lose someone who played with her, but it was like so deep. Like it's,
And then
ah,
we have the we I felt more when we played pretend than with all the Kens. That reminds me of Hits Different, right? I used to switch out
yeah,
all these Kens and just ghost, I think she says.
yeah, yeah. I
And
used to switch all these kids just ghosts.
yeah, because and she felt more well, obviously, but yeah, this was so real.
Like
It's
this was
not.
so real. And I also like I love the imagery here that's like calls back to the folklore Evermore eras that she likes to like that was fun. It was in the house and they played pretend, they made up stories and they made up songs and just felt so real and so sweet because they were together and he that was the time when he took her probably because it says because he took me out of my box. So whenever we played at the Sandlot, we played pretend and say we're writing songs together. That's when he took me down off the shelf again, out of the box, and he stole my heart. Like he had my heart while we were playing, and then he doesn't. And notice she doesn't get that heart back. She just has broken parts left, no heart. And he tells her she's better off with just her broken parts, no heart, and without him. And
He
then she just repeats that I'm not.
Yeah, and it's like I know we had that joke, right? He didn't let her bejewel. But in this one,
Yeah,
it's not even just he didn't let her bejewel, he let her be broken. That was not as good.
exactly. He broke her and then said she was better off broken.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not even just taking off the jewels and like making her plain. It was like taking off the jewels, but also like, those poor Barbies whose like limbs get amputated, right? It's like, this is
He left
better.
her a weird Barbie.
Literally left her a weird Barbie.
Like I am just so okay, actually, but also on the It's Different connection. The I used to switch up these kins. I just ghost, ditch town like an asshole outlaw. I messed up that lyric, but the asshole outlaw is right. Uh, it is very, 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 very interesting to me that after we know this about her, right after we start to like go well, we go a little further down the track list, and then we get our first like Western outlaw country sounding because this time she didn't just ghost, but she's like she had to switch up the kins again, something she didn't really feel, and now she's in her outlaws era in the album, and we get that Americana imagery again.
That's so good.
Which is interesting. I think that's interesting. Yeah, I'm devastated. But he was my best friend, especially because of the way she sings it. She sings it like she's pleading. Like, just say when I do it again. It gives me, I can't help but think of Toy Story and like I wonder if she had recently watched Toy Story or something.
Well, it's
And I
it's
can't
definitely
help.
part of our lives, Toy Story, is in general.
Yeah. And I just can't help but like, and it's interesting. I know I'm just jumping all over the place and being like, it's interesting. I just can't help but think about like Jessie from Toy Story and she was like abandoned under the bed, or like even
No,
Lotso
wasn't
in
she was
Really
in it? No,
Big.
wasn't she left it under a
No,
tree in
she
like
was
the
abandoned at
park?
the park.
Yeah.
She was abandoned under the bed for a while and then she was left at the park. Because there's that scene of like her kid growing up and abandoning her and like not playing with her anymore. She's just under the bed. Um, and I do think it's super interesting to me that the songs that follow this are Down Bad um, which also describes being abandoned.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So we literally in these two tracks right next to each other, we're once again going to get like this was the oven, so this is something that's long, and then we get the next one, which is a microwave.
Which harkens back to what
But
we
both
talked
of
about
them
in the
kind of do the
intro.
same thing.
Yep. No, I
Yeah, both of them do the same thing. Like instead of being a toy, now she's a human toy for aliens in Down Bad, which we'll talk about next week. But they're kind of the same song, aren't they?
Yeah, they really are. And I really like your connection you made to the oven and the microwave because
Yeah,
um we see again in My Boy this repetition of it happening over and over again and it taking time. Whereas again, when we look in Down Bad, which we'll look more at next time, right? It was just this moment of cosmic love. It was just come and go.
yeah. I also want to say that you can see all in this. She makes so many excuses for her boy because she loves him. She doesn't say, like, you can feel how much she loves this person that's hurting her
Hmm.
because of all the excuses she makes. Like, even the fact that she has to repeat it. And she's like, I know he loves me because he smashed it up. I
Yeah,
knew
and
him too well.
so for me, looking at
And I'm
the
a favorite.
yeah, and looking and to me looking at the end where but
Yeah.
I'm not that repetition of like her getting that resolve to realize like maybe it's not okay, the cycle isn't okay. It reminds me actually of Tolerate It, the
Mhm.
bridge like
Yeah.
what if I took this dagger in me and removed it? Believe me, I could do it. And I
Yeah.
think this is her moment of being like I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna um
I'm gonna take the dagger out and
yeah,
run,
yeah, and I think we see
not just
that.
sit on the shelf anymore, waiting to continue to be broken again.
Yeah, and I think we didn't spend enough time on the putting back on the shelf either because imagine
Yeah.
being someone's lover and partner and being like, I want to just at least be on your shelf, right? Let me at least be up here, right?
Begging
And
for footnotes in the story of your life.
yeah, exactly, right? Like and right because
And I'm
all
about to get upset.
but think about all the ways in which he treats this toy badly. Like, it's one thing to be a well-loved toy that, yeah, you have some, I have stuffed animals that have stains that won't come out,
Yeah. Or that
or
are
have,
like so smushy, they've been hugged so
yeah,
much.
but then those are signs of love, right? Like all the patches you
Mhm.
put on a toy, like those are things
That
that
is
have
love. Like you
that br
prepare them when you hurt
yeah,
them or
and it's
whatever.
like it gives memories, it gives such depth and meaning, but it's either you're straight up broken and left on the floor or in the sandbox while it's raining and storming, or it's fix me and put me on your shelf and until you can remember to play with me again.
Yeah.
Both bad.
Yeah. And there's a difference between love and you need to run and call somebody for help.
Yeah.
You need help. You need to get help. Okay, because especially because there's these slight language shifts, like the diction she chooses when she excuses what's happening between the verses that is very interesting to me. So from the beginning, it goes, sickest army doll purchases them all. Ruby lets descend my plastic smile. But even though I'm crying and he's left me out here because he's called the rains, but you should have seen him when he first got me. I'm staying. And then the second time after the litany, and she goes, put me back on my shelf, pull my string. I'll tell you that he runs because he loves me, because you should have seen him when he first saw me. So it's
Mm-hmm.
because you should have seen him when he first saw me. That's why he loves me, because of that relationship we built when we first were together. So it's
Yeah.
like he is running because he loves her because of how he looked at her when he first got this doll. And then in the beginning, she's like, I'm crying and I still have Plaque's mom staying on the shelf or wherever I'm left at because I remember what he looked like when he first got me. I know what it looked like. And she tells us in that like bridge to the end what it was. She's well in the outro of he because he was my best friend. And
Yeah.
that's why whenever he says when I would play again, just say when I'd play again because he was my because we had this connection, I would play again. Um, and he wasn't just putting me back on the shelf then. Um, yeah, but I think now she's just like, he's left. Get this other image of being left behind, um, of the left all these broken parts. So we get this other image of being abandoned, but like technically, I think the boy is still there, but she's just like, he's not playing with me right now. He's left
Mm.
me on the shelf, bro, and he just took my heart with him, um, and left me behind, or like in the sandlot where we used to play. After he like broke down all the sandcastles we had created together.
That sigh, that exquisite. You guys should have seen her face. For me, I think you saying that about how it's like the beginning of the relationship that she's clinging to, it really makes me think about, the way that she did write about, the beginning of the relationship, like the consequence of touching my hand in a darkened room, right? Like a lot of the like songs like Cornelia Street, remembering the first time that they met, Glitch even, right? In Midnights, we see a lot of these songs about the first meeting and how powerful it was. Snow on the Beach, another example. And so, um,
And you know what's interesting? I think Call It What You Want is probably the best example of this,
oh yeah.
because there's also the reference almost. Like she dances around this toy imagery in the chorus where she goes, "My babies fly like a jet stream, high above the whole scene, loves me like I'm brand new." So,
Oof. Take a deep breath.
that's why you get like the image of the sickest army doll. So the sickest army doll, like the coolest army doll, but sick as in it was a sick, it was bad, but he loved her like she was brand new. Ah.
Dude, that's a good connection. Okay, okay, this is the one, guys. If you stayed this long, um, uh, in this podcast, please, put a, I don't know, is there a doll? Is there a
Castle. We should do a
no? Like, it should be like a
castle
plane
emoji. Is
emoji
there a castle?
or a plane because it can't be
Oh
castle. That's
yeah,
pretty
because
obvious.
fly like a jet.
Yeah. So if you got this far, you
Yeah,
can reply with a plain emoji and you'll be like, oh my gosh, that connection is sick. Loves me like I'm brand new. So call it what you want. Call it what you want to.
and then you like think about it. I'm looking at like Call It What You Want, and she's like, they used to play. Like that's the thing. Like in Call It What You Want to, they played. It's like
The
and I know I
forts.
make the same mistakes every time. Bridget learned. I never learn. At least I did one thing right. I'm laughing with my lover, making forts undercover covers. Like they used to play. Like it was fun.
Yeah. I mean, the playing also reminds me of It's Nice to Have a Friend, right? Where, where they, play video. I guess
Yeah.
that one is kind of hard to say. Is it childhood friends to grown up friends? But even that very childlike atmosphere is very much like playing with these dolls, right? Where you are and
Yeah.
for Jason and me,
See,
so
you know what?
Jason's my
Yeah.
husband,
What?
and
Uh-huh.
one of the things we always
Love
talk
Jason.
about,
We love you, Jason.
one of the things we talk about all the time is it should be fun. Like it should be like when you date somebody, people also ask us like how do you know you are meant to be with someone? Is it fun? Do you guys have fun together? Like can you guys play and do these activities? Because even with our kids, right? Like how do we make them happy? We play with them, right? We do the things they want to do. We stuff like that. And so if you feel like you have to perform and be a sickest army doll in order to be yourself and to have these moments of joy, there's something wrong.
Yeah. And I just made another connection that's like, take your breath away. But it's like it's in the bridge. And it's the I want to wear his initial on a chain around my neck, not because he owns me, but because he really knows me. And
Same.
then we have this one, and it's because I knew too much. She knew him
Oh,
too well, and that's why there was danger. And then he might touch so forever, so he smacked it up. And you know what's worse? It's the you don't need to save me, but would you run away with me? There's so much childlike whimsy and Call It What You Want to,
okay. Hold
and then
that.
we get this.
Hold that thought. Okay, you don't need to save me, but would you run away with me? But who's running in this song, Exquisite? It's
Mhm.
just the guy and it's alone. She's stuck behind.
Shut up. We're not together. And
Guys, Exquisite is freaking out. That's why you can't hear. I think her microphone's cutting her off.
and then you don't know, it probably is adding to it that my microphone keeps chopping up as I'm losing my mind. You know what else is sick? Because in Call It What You Want To, she says he's walking with his head down, but I'm the one he's walking to, and in this he's running away.
Yep.
He's not just walking away. He runs away after he destroys the sandcastle. Because again, because she's saying boy, she's invoking this image of a young, something young. And so it's like you have to imagine, like, have you ever seen little boys when they destroy something? They hightail it out of,
Yeah.
like, he's just gone. I'm so mad. But no, like, Call It What You Want To is so whimsical and so, like, even the music, like, it's so sweet.
Hmm.
Um, and now I'm about to get mad.
Okay, well
To
let me
get
point
upset.
you back to the poem by Stevie Nicks that's in the CD cover.
Mhm.
And I just want to read just a couple lines. Um, He was in love with her, or at least she thought so. She was brokenhearted. Maybe he was too. Neither of them knew. Here we go. She was way too hot to handle. He was way too high to try. He couldn't even see her. He wouldn't open his eyes. She was on her way to the stars. He didn't say goodbye. And we know we have a lot of this imagery of, him not seeing her, him being afraid of her, hiding, um, and her flying and soaring. And I think that's so much of this song is realizing how hurt she was, how misunderstood she was, how much she had to shrink herself and just bear this kind of gaslighting, right? This weird relationship that was not love. And
Mhm.
she deciding like I can't do
Not
this
love.
anymore.
You find similarities, you need to call a hotline. Like, this is not good. Call for help.
Yes, please.
I'm getting upset. And then also I'm like looking at King of My Heart because I think Reputation is so interesting because as much as Reputation on the outside is like dark black and white, it's such a lovey-dovey gushy album
Mm-hmm.
that in King of My Heart, which is interesting that she says I'm queen, by the way. So you look at her king in King of My Heart and you get that, like, King of My Heart, one of the greatest songs ever, and you get that bridge of my broken bones are mending because we're spending time together. My
Oh,
broken bones are mending with all these nights we're spending. Is this the end of all the endings? My broken bones are mending. And he broke those broken bones that were mended. He broke the mended bones and left all those broken parts.
yeah. Exquisite just did like the biggest sigh. And again, I think the microphone cut her off.
It's just so, and the worst part is then you also think, like, when I'm about to like make more Reputation connections because it's making me sick in the head. It's making me feel sickly. It's making me feel sick. But like, you look, I'm making the other things that are broken. Taylor had literally one of the other greatest songs alive, track 5, Delicate. She's like, this thing between us is delicate, and she's like, she does not want to break it. She's like making sure everything she says, like, I know it's delicate. I know it could break up if I do anything like wrong. And she's like, it's fine because it's delicate. And she's like, I know it's delicate. And so in her song where she knows that they could break, she's trying her hardest. And like in Renegade, where she's like, how many pieces had you broken into? If you just told me, I would have I would have grabbed hold of those broken pieces. And then you get all of that to then reflect here where she is actively being broken and he is not helping. Instead, he's just stealing her heart and leaving.
Yeah, and to connect to a more recent, well, the next album, I guess not very recent anymore, is in Lover, we have Afterglow. Right. In this one, she's the one who um and it's very possible like she's at fault in this conflict that they had, right? But very clearly there's this feeling of like remorse, regret, wanting to fix, right? It's so excruciating
Mm-hmm.
to see you low, just want to lift you up and not let you go. right? Why'd I have to break what I love so much? It's on your face. Don't walk away. I need to say, right? Very quickly, or I don't know how quickly, but very honestly and openly, she's like, hey, I messed up. Let me fix this, right? I want us to have to meet me in the afterglow. But we're not seeing that here at all, right? It's all just brokenness and pain.
And broken part and
Yes.
pain. I just keep sighing because I'm about to get upset. I'm about to start crying. Um, no, like it's kind of is actually genuinely sick. And then that army doll imagery also brings me to the Great War.
I'm literally
Just
looking
of
at the
these, she's
lyrics right
like,
now.
because yeah, we know the type of toy she is. And she's like, if we survive the Great War, I won't have to fight anymore. Like we don't, I swear it's not gonna whatever it was. And the thing is, we don't know what caused the Great War, but it was just something. She's like,
Maybe it was
she had a
her.
sense of betrayal. She said betrayal. Yeah. We don't know what it was. Maybe it was the past. Maybe it was her. We don't know. We just know she's somewhere in the haze. She got a sense she'd been betrayed. Here's the thing. And so that's why she went on. She said, soldier down on that icy ground, looked up at me. So whoever she was singing to was down. They were the soldier that was down. Um, and so then she's like, I called off the troops and we didn't fight anymore in this. But it's very interesting that when this army doll like was on the ground pleading, broken and blue, like on the ground, broken and blue, that's when she was like, we almost lost each other. In her head, she doesn't rationalize it. She's like, I'm sorry, type thing. And they plant memory gardens and all that good stuff. She's like, I saw you broken and I decided we would fix it. It's the same thing that happened in Afterglow, where she's like, I saw this speaker saw that something she had done. And she's like, well, I'm sorry. She didn't say I'm sorry. She's just like, it was me in my head. um, no, and I just think it's so interesting how in these songs you can see that she is like the one that is bridging the gap. Um, but in My Boy, she tells us what went wrong, and she's like, it was in his head. It was the voices in his head.
Yeah, no,
The Great
and
War is interesting.
no, and I think in the Great War, right? Like you said, she tried to fix it, tried to bridge that gap. But then in this one, he says he just left the broken parts and said, "You're better off this way." Right?
Exactly. When
What
she
is
saw
that?
him down, when she saw him down at his lowest, she was like, in the Great War, she is also a soldier, mind you. But when she saw the other soldier she's fighting against down on the ground, she called off her troops. And she was like, I saw that was the night I nearly lost you. That was the night we almost fell apart. But I called off the troops and let you back in. And we swore we wouldn't do this again. Like, wait, hold on, because hold on. Literally, literally, I need you to understand. It was it was war, it wasn't fair, and we will never go back. My hand was the one you reached for all throughout the Great War. We're burned for better. So this time they're both broken together. I vowed I will always be yours because we survived the Great War. Um, and so you get this won't happen again. And then this song opens up with, here we go again, but
Ooh,
now I'm fighting by myself. I'm fighting in only your army.
oh shoot. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Yeah, the great and it's like I know people were joking like oh like the Great War is like World War One like she actually kind of
Yeah.
predicted the fact that there would be like a World War Two like that there would be a
And this
even
time that
greater
war killed
battle
her.
and then it yeah and it yeah okay I
What do you
hear the
think about the
gardeners
lady white
coming.
flag on stage?
Oh yeah, the white flag on stage. Okay, I hear the gardeners coming. So let's wrap this up because I don't want to have them
Okay,
ruining our podcast. But um, any final thoughts?
deep sigh. I like am withholding tears because I'm upset. I'm upset about the Call of What You Want reference. I'm
No, that's
so
I'm gonna send this podcast to all my Call It What You Want stands, and you should send these to all your Call It What You Want stands and be like, I'm sorry, not sorry, but also sorry.
like
I think yeah. So don't forget, please send the plain emojis when you see our tweets or just hashtag KTPD seminar. For me, I think yeah, just this idea of back to back sad songs about broken relationships into the out of the oven into the microwave. I think that's the thing that's going to
Yeah,
stick with me this episode. So
because
thank
they
you for
really
listening. What are you going to say?
I was and the fact that they're next to each other. She's like, these are the same exact experiences, but one is a grounded toy experience and the other is aliens. People are more likely to believe that you would break a toy. They're less likely to believe you were abducted.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll talk. Well, that's a little
Let's
sneak peek
talk
for
about
next
that.
week.
Let's talk about
Thank
that.
you guys so much for listening again. Thank you, Aleph
Yeah.
Vernon, for the images. Please tag us, interact with us. We love to hear your thoughts.
Yes.
And we'll see you guys in a week. Bye.